Welcome to the College Football Bros. I'm Michael Newman.
I'm Ryan Newman.
And I'm Trey Newman.
All right, it is that time of year again for us, head coach ranking season. So our next batch of episodes, we are going to be ranking the head coaches in every Power 5 conference. The three of us each came up with our rankings independently, and then we kind of averaged them together to come up with these lists. So starting out here with the ACC, Ryan, who is unlucky number 14.
Yeah, to me, this was an obvious 14. We have Brent Pry at Virginia Tech. Only 3 wins in his first season. Very lackluster performances on the field. The recruiting is not encouraging. Lost some key pieces from this past year. QB play is bad. I mean, there's just not really anything I can point to that's looking good at the moment. So, sorry, Hokies.
Yeah. Staying in state, Virginia, number 13, Tony Elliott. Year one wasn't too hot for him and the Wahoos. They went 3-7. And then you kind of look at the tail end of his days as Clemson's offensive coordinator, then now in year one as the head guy at Virginia. Wasn't too exciting of a brand of an offense. And it really wasn't a good sign when the year before, Brennan Armstrong put up just PlayStation numbers. And then, this past year, his numbers were less than half of what they were the prior year. He decided to transfer away. Now the recruiting class was 13th in the ACC, so not the best start for Elliott.
Okay, number 12, we have Boston College's Jeff Hafley. And I was encouraged early on in his tenure just because he hit the recruiting trail hard immediately. It was paying dividends, at least in the recruiting rankings. Brought in Phil Jerkovic, a really good transfer quarterback from Notre Dame. But the results haven't been there, especially this past season, 3-9. There's excuses. It's had injuries, Jerkovic for one, offensive line, but still, it's just year 3 going 3-9. It's not much of an excuse there.
No, it's not. All right, moving on to number 11. We have Brent Key from Georgia Tech. He took over for Jeff Collins the last 8 games of this past season after Collins got let go. And he went 4-4, which was improvement, so there's definitely some hope down there in Atlanta. Didn't bring in a whole lot of talent this coming class. Maybe give him a pass because he was kind of the interim for most of the season. So heading into 2024, they're actually off to a better start, at least on the recruiting front. So hopefully we'll give them a little bit of a wait and see on that. But hard to put them a whole lot higher than this. But this is where I'm starting to feel like there's more optimism for a coach like him.
Yep, I agree. Number 10, Dino Babers of Syracuse. He's living on the hot seat now. After his 10-win season in 2018, he's put up 3 sub-500 seasons. Then he saved himself last year with a 7-6 season. But for Syracuse fans, it wasn't great since he started the year 6-0 and then obviously just finished 1-6. He's now 18-39 in ACC play. He just brought in the ACC's worst recruiting class. I mean, he really needs a good season to be back on this list again. Otherwise, he's gone.
Okay, number 9, we start getting, I think the fans are a lot happier with this coach, Mike Elko of Duke. Worked his way up the ranks as a defensive coordinator, finally, most recently at Texas A&M, and finally got a head coaching job at Duke and inherited one of the worst Power 5 teams in college football, immediately goes 9-4. You could argue he should have been National Coach of the Year last season. The improvement they had was just insane. He's 9th on this list. That might seem low for, me giving him all this praise, but it is just one season, and the 8 coaches ahead of him have just longer track records of at least, above average or solid coaching.
That they do. All right, so let's move on to number 8, and we have Dave Doran at NC State. Pretty much right in the middle of the rankings here, which is par for the course for Dave Doran, just doing enough. He's been there for 10 years, believe it or not. His ACC record's 38-44, so not that great. But if you take out his first year, when they went 0-8, so ever since then it's been slightly over 500. But he's only finished in the top 25 twice in those 10 years. Never won 10 games. So he's never really had a breakout season. He had a couple of 9-win seasons in there, but just kind of good enough to stick around, but not bad enough to really get considered for true hot seat. But NC State's, he's got to break out one of these years and have like a great season. It seems like if you're at a place that long, one of those years just kind of works, but still waiting.
Mm-hmm. Pat Narduzzi is number 7 of Pitt. His first 6 seasons were good, kind of average, but not great. Won the Coastal once, but got destroyed by Clemson in the ACC title in that period. But he's climbed our list after kind of breaking through. He had the 11-win season and Peach Bowl appearance a couple years ago. Last year, he brought in Keaton Slovis, and while they weren't firing, he managed 9 wins, got a bowl victory, back-to-back top 25 finishes. His job is safe now, but I'm personally kind of curious if this is a ceiling or if he can, continue to rise on this list with some good seasons.
Yeah, we'll see. There was a long time, like you said, of just kind of like Dave Doran, maybe even a little worse, I would say. But yeah, last 2 years have been good. Number 6, we have Mack Brown of North Carolina, and I feel like he gets a lot of crap from college football fans. There seems to be a lot of people out there with the notion that he's just not a very good coach, and I don't get it. Like when he was hired at North Carolina, the previous 2 years they were 2-14 in ACC play. Mack Brown is currently 20-14, so that's pretty good for a record in conference. He's made a bowl game all 4 years. They made the Orange Bowl in year 2. They made the ACC title game last year. Like at North Carolina, I think he's doing a good job. Now, I think what people point to is, oh, he's had these great recruiting classes. Maybe he's slightly underperforming the recruiting level. And yeah, maybe that's true, but he's also recruiting really great. So I would take a coach that dramatically out recruits compared to maybe what an average coach would do, even if he's slightly underachieving. So as far as to the talent level.
Yeah, so, he's raised the bar there, no doubt.
Yeah, that's he's a victim of raising the bar so high that making an Orange Bowl and making the ACC title game is people see it as underachieving.
Yeah, North Carolina is not a surefire program, so I think he's doing a good job too. All right, let's move on to number 5. We have Jeff Brohm, first-year head coach at Louisville now. The bros were all high on him. He did a great job at Western Kentucky, but back in the day, leading them to, some really good offenses and then double-digit wins this last couple seasons. Then took over just a horrible Purdue team from Darrell Hazell, and they were just in rough shape. Immediately made them competitive, going to a bowl game in year 1. Overall, he's at Purdue. He's 36-34, and then 26-25 in Big Ten play. Doesn't sound like sexy numbers, but winning record in Big Ten play at Purdue, I mean that's impressive in my mind. It's hard to be successful there, especially considering what he took over. And he's been snake bitten some of the seasons with some pretty significant injuries to some of his top guys. So no matter what happens, though, he manages to put out quality teams, quality offenses. And I think he's going to do extremely well at Louisville. We
love Jeff Brohm.
Yeah.
I think we all just...
Brohm stands.
He's going to kill it there. They're going to be good.
I think so, too.
Yep. Number 4, we have Mike Norvell, Florida State. Some people might say he should be a little bit higher on the list, but just think about this. A year ago, we didn't even know if Norvell would be on this list. He needed to have a good season to for sure keep his job. He did. He backed that up. 10-win season, 11th ranked finish. Coming into 2023, they're going to be one of the most hyped teams just because they returned so much production. There's a little buzz in Tallahassee for the first time since the Jimbo days. He did great at Memphis, inherited a mess with the Noles, and has now, I guess, steadily improved them in his 3 seasons. His recruiting class was 3rd in the ACC, just barely behind Clemson. So he's certainly trending up. We'll see if he can back it up this year.
Yeah, I think this will be maybe the most controversial ordering on our list here. Number 3, we have Mario Cristobal from Miami right ahead of Mike Norvell. And I can understand swapping them. Like Ryan, on your personal list, you did have Norvell ahead of Cristobal. I think it's reasonable. Yeah, to me, it's close. Because like Trey said, like just go back a year. I think almost unanimously people would have agreed that Cristobal should be ranked higher than Norvell, and maybe in some people's minds a lot higher. So now last year counts. He rose up the list because Norvell did a great job, and it's kind of the culmination of, wow, really pulling Florida State out of the gutter. So that is impressive, but I still value what Cristobal did at Oregon, winning the Rose Bowl there, 2 New Year's Six Bowls in 4 years. He really elevated them into the recruiting juggernaut that they are right now. He kind of built out that infrastructure. So yes, Miami year one was bad, 5-7, and it believe me, like on our national list, I'm gonna drop Cristobal because that was like he deserves to drop for that.
Sure.
And it's worrisome too. Like heading into next year, I'm not necessarily bullish on the U, but I still kind of believe in him as a recruiter. I think he's going to build out a roster that's really good in the trenches, balanced. So still have that belief there, but it is waned a little bit.
Hopefully you pick better coordinators this time.
Yeah, that both coordinators did not work out.
No. Okay, let's move on to number 2. We have Dave Clawson at Wake Forest. Wake Forest, number 2 in the ACC here. Crazy. But you got to give Clawson a lot of credit for what he's been able to do. 7 straight bowl games, had an ACC title game appearance, some really high-flying offenses, fun to watch. 19 wins the last 2 years. So he's done a great job there in Winston-Salem. And if you take out the first couple years, I mean, he's been 53-35 since those first couple seasons there. And he's gonna have his work cut out for him a little bit this year after losing Sam Hartman to transfer to Notre Dame, but he's turned out some good offenses with multiple quarterbacks at this point. So I'm not gonna doubt him, but it's a little weird to have a guy like that maybe this high on the list, but you got to consider it's Wake, and it's hard to do things there, man.
Yep, sustained success there is impressive.
Yeah.
All right, number 1, slam dunk, I think for everyone. Dabo Swinney of Clemson. What more do you say? 12 straight 10-win seasons, couple national titles, and like even though they haven't been kind of the dominant force the last couple years that we kind of grew accustomed to, they still had double-digit wins in their down years, and and I like that this year this offseason ventured out of the program to bring in a highly regarded offensive coordinator, Garrett Riley. That's one of the better offseason hires. They're still recruiting at a pretty high level, so got to be number 1.
Yep. Okay. Well, there you have our ACC rankings. I'll pull up the full list if you're watching here on YouTube. Brian, any just overall thoughts here?
I mean, I kind of looking at each coaching conference here, like all the coaches in the conference. I felt this one kind of maybe most of the others. It's kind of hard to get excited about some of these guys. I look at Pry, Elliott, Hafley, even like Narduzzi and Doran. It's kind of a little difficult to just like talk yourself into get super excited about them. I'll even throw Brent Key in there just because he's kind of he's not a known commodity. It's like that's kind of hard to get excited about. So there's just so many names. I'm like So it's not the most exciting list.
I will say in defense of Brent Pry and Tony Elliott, the rosters they inherited weren't great. Mm-hmm. So I'm willing to obviously give them more than that.
Yeah, they got to turn up the recruiting.
They do. Let's see. I'm looking at the list here. I think Norvell clearly this year, if Florida State lives up to the hype, and I think they'll be really good. He has the potential to move up to number 2. I think like if they win the ACC, I think he could easily climb up to number 2 on the list.
Watch out for Jeff Brohm.
I love Jeff Brohm. I do. I love Jeff Brohm too. Louisville should be decent this year. It's not like Scott Satterfield left the cupboard bare there. They should be decent.
What happens if Mike Elko wins like 9 games again? 2 years in a
Yeah, no, he'll climb big time. Yeah.
Yeah, right? I mean, that'd be impressive.
Though it's kind of like he'll climb the probably the Doran, and if Narduzzi kind of falls back a little bit, but
he'd probably hard. Slide past Mack Brown.
He could do that depending on what Brown does. But anyway, Trey, any thoughts?
No, we kind of touched on it I was kind of looking at you brought up a couple guys that could rise, but kind of look at like Mario Cristobal. I think if this year is another bomb for Miami, he's the one that could probably move the most the other way, just because even that recruiting bump that we kind of give him would kind of be a moot point, I think, if they have just 2 duds.
Yeah. He's going to be a tough one to deal with. I mean, he was tough this year. I don't know. Do I get out ahead of it and drop him, or still kind of keep the faith?
Keep the faith in the recruiting, I guess.
Yeah, but all right. Well, thanks for watching this episode of the College Football Bros. Like I said, this is only episode 1 of all of our Coach Rankings episodes, so we'd really appreciate it if you help spread the word. You subscribe to the podcast, leave comments down below, giving us your thoughts, and yeah, share it with your friends. We'd really appreciate that as we try and grow the podcast. So thank you for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.